if you're new to the Twitch account, thank you for joining us. It is our first time hosting a Face of Sepsis interview here on Twitch. And I'm so grateful if you have come over, set up an account, followed us. I'm so excited to bring the interviews over. And I'm joined by Rebecca Beaty today. Rebecca, are you okay?
Yes, I'm fine.
Good. Thank you for accepting, the invitation to come on to this. I really appreciate it. So if you quickly introduce yourself to everyone.
I don't know what to say. I'm Rebecca. I'm 30 now, and I had sepsis in 2017 whilst pregnant.
Yeah. And so this is why this is so important, because like Rebecca just said, whilst she was pregnant, how many new mothers are going through this and not being aware of what sepsis is. So Rebecca, 2017. So God, how many years ago was that now?
4 in December.
4. And tell us a little bit. So the lead up to it, what happened?
It was a normal day. It was my due day with my daughter. We'd been out for tea, we'd been out for the day. It was the first day my stepson was staying over. Got home, was just relaxing, and then I went to bed about 10 o'clock, just feeling really unwell. Just aches and pains, feeling really fluey. And then I don't even remember falling asleep. I think I must have just crashed as soon as I got to bed. Got up on the Saturday, still feeling really ill. Developed a pain in my left side, and a cough. Went back to bed, spent most of the day in bed. Same as the Sunday. My partner ran me a bath on the Saturday, and I couldn't even lie down in the bath. The pain was it was awful. Got up again on the Monday, and I just thought, right, something's obviously not right. But obviously being pregnant, because I was concentrating on my pain, I wasn't concentrating on whether the baby had been moving.
Right.
So I couldn't remember feeling a kick. So it was about 3 o'clock, because my partner Paul was going to do the school run. So he was going to go and pick up the kids like he normally does when he's off work, and then come back home. And he laughs because I come downstairs with my decorating pants on, which were covered in paint.
Oh God.
And just this jacket. Still had my pajama top on, and I was like, right, I've rang the hospital. They've suggested going down because I don't feel very well. I haven't felt the baby move in, I couldn't remember, so I couldn't even give a time frame. And he was mortified. He was like, you're not coming anywhere with me. And I says, I'll just stay in the car, and then just take me to the hospital after. Went to the hospital, and it all kind of went downhill from there, really.
Yeah, and it's just really good that you used your initiative to, book an appointment and even talk to someone and mention it. So when you got to the hospital, you say it went downhill very, very quickly. Obviously, your little one is okay. And tell us a little bit about her before we before we get into the story.
She's fine. She had 48 hours worth of antibiotics when she was first born, because obviously they didn't know what was wrong with me.
Yeah.
She's had some problems in her first 2 years of life, but we don't know if that's down to the sepsis or whether that's just total coincidence.
Right. Okay.
She's fine now.
Yeah. Oh, good. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there that she is all okay. She's here. So back to the hospital. So it went downhill very quickly. Explain that.
Well, they obviously were trying to check my oxygen. But because they couldn't get it, they informed my partner that they would probably, because I had my son, to maybe take him for a cup of tea or coffee or something, because they would have to go on my neck to try and get the oxygen levels out or something like that. They couldn't get like a correct flow. So my partner was like, right, I'll take him home. I'll bring a label bag. She's obviously really poorly. They were asking if I'd been to like Africa, if I'd possibly eaten something funny. And I was like, no, like, I'm 40 weeks pregnant now. I'm 2 days past my due date. I'm not allowed to fly even if I wanted to. So he took him home. And then they didn't even like do the thing on my neck. They literally just about 20 people came running in, loads of different people speaking to me, somebody explaining that the heart rate had dropped on the baby, so they would take me for a C-section. Somebody else saying they would call my partner. Just loads of different people. Like I couldn't even, like I'd seen them after when I come round and I had physiotherapy, and they were just like walking me around the hospital to get used to like obviously walking again and stuff. And I had people coming past me saying, oh, it's so lovely to see you up and about. And I was just like, who are you? I don't know you. Like I've never seen you before in my life.
It's and a lot of people don't realise how traumatic this is. And that's why I'm so grateful that you're talking with me today, because there might be someone sat at home that watches this and is like, I went through something similar, and they feel like they're on their own. So just thank you for talking about it, because when I say your voice is so powerful, it really, really is.
Yeah.
So how long was you unconscious for?
They did the C-section. I think Fable was born, I always get this wrong because obviously I don't know, I was knocked out. It was either 20 to 5 or 10 to 5. So from, say, 10 minutes before that to the Wednesday. So I had her on the Monday, and then the Wednesday, they woke me up. I think they tried to wake me up on the Tuesday, but I think my lungs and everything started to like deteriorate again, so they had to put me back under. And obviously waking up in a panic, I tried to rip the tubes that were out of my throat and my nose and everything, so they had to kind of put us back under, and then they slowly woke me up on the Wednesday.
And you met your little girl?
Yes, I did.
And that is a lovely picture. I know you sent it to me, but I did also see it online as well. It's such a lovely picture. So I have a few questions for you. Okay. Now, if you can't answer them, bat it back to me. Or if there is anything that you want to throw my way, throw it my way. So when you said to me earlier, before the interview, that you genuinely felt like you was dying, you can't explain that feeling, can you? It's just not possible.
No, it's just, I don't know why. Like obviously I've never died before. Nobody knows what it's like. I just remember sitting in the car and I was like, I honestly feel like I'm dying. Like I couldn't breathe. I was in agony to breathe. Like the pain was just ridiculous. I couldn't physically move, like even sitting up. When I was waiting for my partner to pick my son up from school, I remember having the window open a little bit because I felt so hot, but then I was cold. And I remember having like my head up against the glass because I was just so weak.
And they are like prime symptoms of sepsis, aren't they? Have you? Because obviously, I've got the rolling banner down below of the UK Sepsis Trust, and they have all of the signs and symptoms on the website. And one of the symptoms is feeling like you're going to die, and that is how it's worded. There's no explanation of it. It is just that's how you feel, and you can't explain it to anyone. And what I've always found is the only people that understand that feeling is someone that's been through it the same as you.
Yeah, well, we didn't know. I mean, I'd heard of sepsis, but I didn't know anything about it. So when I was feeling like that, I didn't think, oh God, I think I've got sepsis.
Yeah.
I just thought it might have been a bit of flu because I had a cold all through my pregnancy, and I had really bad morning sickness to the point of like having to go to hospital a couple of times because of it. So I just thought it was probably I picked up a really bad bug, and because I was pregnant, I was a bit weaker, and it was obviously it was knocking me down a bit more than what it would normally.
Yeah.
It wasn't. Sorry, go on.
No, go on.
It wasn't until 7 months after that we actually found out it was sepsis and how bad it was.
Oh my God. No way. Why such a delay?
Well, we were never told that. I mean, I wasn't, my partner wasn't. When I left the hospital, they told me I had pneumonia.
Right.
That was it. That obviously explained the pain and the lack of breath and stuff like that. It wasn't until, because obviously I wasn't coping very well with it, my health visitor said, right, well, you can go and speak to somebody at the hospital and they'll explain what went on, and you can they'll go through your maternity notes and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, right, I need to kind of, because I know like pneumonia is a deadly thing, but I'd never heard of it being so drastic. So we went, and it was actually the doctor that I seen was actually the one that performed my C-section.
Oh, okay.
Because he mentioned sepsis straight away. He was like, right, you're sepsis. And my partner turned around to him and was like, oh, I think you've got the wrong notes. Like, she didn't have sepsis. It was pneumonia. And the doctor said, no, it was sepsis because I delivered your baby. And we were like, so how bad was it then? And obviously they didn't tell us until we'd seen him. And then I had a bit of a cry when we left because I was like, oh, I didn't realise it was that bad.
Yeah, it's the shock, isn't it? It's the shock of then realising what you have just been through. And, what I went through wasn't anything near as similar as what you did. But it still hits home that sepsis is so severe, it's deadly. So anyone that is watching in the comment section, we've got a comment here saying that they're so happy that your little girl's okay. When they had their firstborn baby boy on the 6th of September, she was then rushed to hospital and she missed out on the first 8 weeks of his life. It's so shocking because especially with maternal, it's not spoken about.
No.
I haven't come across any, maternal sepsis advocates that are the equivalent to what I do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think it's really important. So, as a young mum, as a mum yourself, would you say that there needs to be better awareness within the pregnancy process and also after birth? Do you think that there needs to be better education and awareness?
Yeah, I do, because I think I've got 4 children in total, so my first 2 were fine. They were natural deliveries, they were good birth weights, there was no issues. And obviously when I had Fable, it was totally different. And I think they don't tell you about what can go wrong when you're pregnant, just about how beautiful and like perfect this experience is meant to be, when in reality it doesn't always work out like that.
No. And do you think that they talk about the good sides of pregnancy because people maybe fear birth? Because I know, to be honest with you, I'm absolutely petrified of giving birth, and open and honest about it. I am petrified. But I think it's because I now know what can happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that's kind of had a slight effect on me when it comes to the thought of childbirth. Is I'm constantly thinking, oh my God, like what if something goes wrong?
I think it's quite a scary thing anyways though, because if you think realistically, there's only one way you're going to get the baby out.
Yeah.
Well, obviously there's two. There's to natural and obviously to have a C-section, but having a baby's scary anyways. The pain of a natural labour is awful, but then you've got the pain of the recovery from having a section.
Yeah.
And there would be a lot of fear behind it, because you don't think, when we'd heard about the sepsis, we just instantly thought, right, an older person. Young people don't get this.
Yeah.
I was just turned 27. And I was told that if I hadn't have gone to the hospital when I did, I wouldn't have been here now. Like, I was minutes away, I would have hemorrhaged, and that would have been it. So I think at 27, you kind of think if an older people would get it, because their bodies aren't strong enough to fight it off.
Yeah, do you know what? You've hit the nail on the head there. There's a misconception with sepsis, isn't there? And you've kind of just said it very straightforwardly, is older people get it. That is the misconception, is that a lot of people do sit there and say, it won't happen to me because I'm young and I'm healthy. When, you know, it doesn't discriminate. It can happen to absolutely anyone at any time, from a baby to a 99-year-old person. It can affect anyone. So I'm really glad that you said that, because it's kind of raised the misconception is there.
Yeah.
So my next question for you is, how are you now?
Tired, but I think that we've got a younger baby now. But I think I'm getting there. I think it does take a lot to get over. Given how poorly I was, I think I made quite a good recovery quite quick. But then on the other hand, I was getting every little cough and cold. I was getting the flu. I was just catching everything you could possibly imagine.
Yeah.
But I think now it's a lot better. It's more like the mental side kind of took more of a toll than my physical.
Have you spoken to the UK Sepsis Trust about it? Have you been in contact with them?
Yes, I do volunteering for them sometimes.
And they're amazing, aren't they? They are such an amazing charity. For anyone watching that hasn't been in contact with them, and you feel like you need some answers, you need somebody to talk to, even if it's just a support group, they are the charity to go to. They're honestly absolutely amazing.
I went to a group with them, and there was actually a doctor that was at the hospital that I was at, because when Paul was obviously telling her, she was like, yeah, I remember reading your story.
It's just, have you had other people come forward and say that they've read your story before?
No, but I do know that my notes went missing for a little while, which is why it took so long to get an appointment at the hospital to obviously speak about what had gone on.
Yeah.
And they were using it as like a worst case scenario that could happen.
Right, that's strange, isn't it? But
So
did they get them back in the end? Did they find them?
yeah. They did. So for a little while I was known as the girl from room 11 because it's just obviously
They didn't have your
these
details.
things don't happen in a hospital. So a lot of the people were like, oh, you're the girl from room 11. And again, I was just like, oh, hi. Like, I don't know who you are.
Yeah. That must have been hard to come to terms with as well. That whole kind of that blank section. Because I've spoken to quite a few people that have missing parts, missing blanks. And is that something that the UK Sepsis Trust has been able to help you with?
Yes, I went to a support thing, and obviously there was people there who their stories weren't similar to mine. It was nothing to do with pregnancy or anything like that. But they were kind of like, oh, there's little details that we don't remember. Like, it's like a memory fog. Some things they can, and then some things I haven't got a clue. I think it only kind of hit me hard because I'm a mum and I didn't know what time she was born.
Yeah.
Whereas my other children I do, so I was a bit like, oh, I don't even know what time she was born. I can't remember. Like, obviously my partner wasn't there. He wasn't allowed in the room. He wasn't in the hospital, but even if he was, he wouldn't have been allowed there because they had to totally like put me under general anaesthetic.
Yeah.
So I think I felt a bit like he'd been robbed as well.
Yeah, and understandably as well. You've got quite a few comments here, Rebecca. You've got someone kind of reconfirming what we've just said about how sepsis can affect anyone at any age. And that's just, I don't know how many times I've said it over and over again. And every time that we do an interview, it comes up every single time, that misconception. You've also got Leanne. I don't know whether have you spoken to Leanne that is in the Sepsis Around the World group.
I don't know.
She's sending you lots of love your way. And then we've got here, and this actually leads on to my next question. So Carol has put here, it must have been terrifying, having a baby, a C-section and sepsis all in one go. And that leads me to my next question is, you've mentioned to me before about PTSD. How are you now in terms of that?
It's better. I think it's not going to just disappear.
Yeah.
It's just little things like I said, if I watch somebody, obviously watch a program on the telly and somebody's having an emergency section, I get upset.
Yeah.
If it used to be bad at first, like every little thing would make me cry, but I think because I was so poorly, my partner did a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like he helped out loads massively. He took loads of time off work to help. And when he went back to work, and obviously I was at home with the baby, she just screamed. Like she would scream all the time. So by the time he got in from work at 10 o'clock, I was holding her screaming. I was crying because I couldn't console her and comfort her. And as soon as he took her, she would stop crying. And I was like, oh, that was quite hard because I thought, they talk about this instant bond, whereas I missed out on that because I didn't have the skin to skin as soon as she was born. I couldn't breastfeed her because my milk wasn't there. Obviously, because I had her before she was ready to come, kind of didn't come through, and then I was advised not to try and breastfeed her because my body was so weak it would put a massive toll on it physically. So I think a lot of little things that you would probably take for granted, I was like, oh, I can't even do this. I can't even like feed my baby. She's got to have formula. I can't do this.
I think it's so important that you've mentioned that today, because there's a lot of people that, you know, and believe me, when I say people watch these, they do. And there will be people sitting there thinking, I felt exactly the same way. I couldn't do what Rebecca couldn't do. I'm not alone. So I can't imagine how difficult it is for you to talk about this. So, you know, from me to you, just thank you. Like, I'm not a mum, but I can't imagine going through what you went through. And I'm getting upset. Why am I getting upset? You know, it's just, I can't thank you enough for talking about it. You're amazing.
I think a lot of people do get upset when they hear it. Whenever, like, when it first happened and we would tell people, they'd be like, oh my God, I've got chills. Like, I feel sick.
Yeah, and it is. And, you know, I can't sound maternal because I've not had children. But I'm so like, I get so much anxiety when it comes to like infections with like my brother, my mum, my dad. Do you feel really anxious about infections now?
Not so much with me. I think if I get a cough or a cold, it does still hit my chest a lot. But I think I've kind of learnt to deal with it. I know what to do.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get that bad. And if I do get poorly, my partner's straight on the phone to the doctor saying, like, right, you know, she needs to see somebody.
Yeah, and that's so important.
It's more like Fable. If Fable gets a cough, I'm like, oh, you know, she's got a cough, because she was so poorly for the first like 2 years of her life. We were like, every little thing that went wrong.
Yeah.
We kind of panicked.
Have you? Because I don't know if there is a connection. I'm more than happy to look into it. But is there a connection with babies having a weakened immune system if their mum's had a severe infection? Do you know anything about that, or?
No, we've never. I mean, we queried it with one doctor, and they kind of said like they don't think it would be, because it wasn't anything major, but she had an operation to have her tonsils and her adenoids taken out.
Right.
Because her immune system was weak. So from like being months old, she had tonsillitis. She then developed sleep apnea, so her oxygen levels would dip during the night. There was a problem with her blood cells. She has issues with her bowels, so she's on Movicol because she can't poo without it. Just obviously they're better now, and she's so much better now that she's had her tonsils taken out. She couldn't speak, she wouldn't eat, and now she's great. She's 4. Obviously her birthday is is like my sepsis anniversary of surviving it.
Yeah, so it's a double celebration for you.
Yeah, so it kind of takes away the like awfulness of it.
Yeah, and that's such a lovely way to look at it. You know, you survived for a reason, and your reason is her. So we've got loads and loads of comments here. Okay, so someone else, Kimberly Bradley, she is a part of hashtag Around the World in 13 Days. Done an interview with her before. And, you know, if you ever need anyone to talk to, she's amazing. She put here, I wasn't aware of maternal sepsis until joining the group. And that speaks 1,000 words. Like, why isn't this spoken about? it just baffles me. Especially if it can affect so many people. Someone has said here, memory loss is huge in sepsis. They live down in Suffolk. Their family lives in Cumbria, and there was an occasion where she couldn't even remember seeing her own family. And if you're watching this, can you comment? Anyone, please comment if you still suffer with memory loss, because I have. Do you suffer with any form of memory fog or brain fog to this day?
I'll never remember what went on because obviously I was asleep.
Yeah.
So my partner was, I've mentioned him loads. He was probably the main reason why I think I healed as good as I did.
Yeah.
He always been like my number one fan. He was at the hospital all the time, so constantly asking questions, finding, even when I was in a coma and I didn't even know he was there, he would go downstairs to the baby unit and sit with Fable, and then he would come upstairs and sit with me, and he would talk to me. And well, I don't remember, but I've got on my phone when he sent us pictures of her when I was like asleep.
So that's so lovely.
Yeah, so I've kind of got memories, but not my own.
Yeah, but he is so lovely that he made it kind of. That's just so lovely to me. That's really special that he did that. But do you suffer with any form of brain fog in your day to day, whether it's putting your phone down and forgetting where you've put it, or do you suffer with any day to day brain fog 4 years on?
I don't know, because I suppose a lot of people kind of walk into the room and forget what they went in for.
Yeah.
I do misplace things, and then I think, where did I put it? But I don't know if that's just normal or if that could be brain fog from the sepsis. I've never thought about it like that. I've just kind of thought, oh, where have I put it now?
And have you ever, has post-sepsis syndrome ever been brought up to you?
I've recently heard of it when people are talking, because I'm in a lot of obviously the sepsis groups. So I've heard people mention it in there, but I've never looked into it.
So with post-sepsis syndrome, so think of it as like an umbrella. So within post-sepsis syndrome, you've got mental health issues, PTSD, you've got brain fog, memory loss, hair loss, people literally lose their hair. So think of it as like an umbrella. So it's just the main kind of the name for the branches that come off of it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you're probably seeing people are talking about it more and more, because a lot of people are coming forward with long COVID, the after effects of COVID. And the link between COVID and sepsis obviously is very, very similar. No one needs to explain that. People can see that. But the similarities between long COVID and post-sepsis syndrome are also very similar. So that's probably why you're seeing a lot more posts on social media, because people are now talking about it, which is really important, I think, personally. So my last question to you, it would be, if you could have one message, it can be as long and it can be as short as you like, to the people that watch this now and to the people that watch it back later, what would your one message be to them about sepsis?
Don't rule it out.
Don't rule it out.
It literally can happen to anybody. Like I say, I was only 27. I know someone whose baby had it, and I think he was 6 weeks old.
Yeah, and it doesn't discriminate. You know, as it's said over and over again, it can happen to anyone. So my message to everyone watching would be an advocate like Rebecca's partner, because if you don't support your partner when they're in that situation, you don't ask the questions. If you don't ask the questions, if you don't advocate for your loved ones, nobody else is going to. So it's really, really important to advocate for your loved ones, and know the signs and symptoms. And I'm going to take a quick look back over. Thank you for all of the comments, everyone. But I'm going to wrap it up here. Rebecca, it's been an absolute pleasure. And you know where I am if you ever need a chat, if you've got any questions. And for anyone watching, if you want to be a part of the Face of Sepsis interviews, we are booked up until May now, but contact me and I'll get you booked in. But yeah, Rebecca, thank you so much for joining me today.
It's been a pleasure, thank you.
Have you enjoyed it? It's not been as scary as what you thought?
No, I might have a little cry when I turn it off, but...
Normal. I'm going to cry in a minute. But yeah, thank you so much, and thank you to everyone that is watching. Rebecca, I'll check in with you later on, see how you are.
No problem, thank you.
You are welcome. From me to you, stay safe, stay well, stay healthy, and I will speak to you all very, very soon. Thanks, guys.